Good afternoon, and welcome to Math with Mr. D. Today, we'll be talking about lessons 10.1 and 10.2, adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. If you remember from my previous video, lesson 9.9, we talked about unlike denominators, but today we'll be talking about like denominators. What is a like denominator, you ask? Well, it's two or more fractions that have the same denominators. In this case, our denominators are 8. I'm going to demonstrate how to add 3/8 and 1/8. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my numerators, and I'm going to realize that my numerators are 3 and 1. I'm going to add them together. 3 plus 1 is? Well, if you guessed 4, you're 100% correct. Now, what we like to do next is a lot of us like to take our denominators and just add them together. But we are not going to do that. We are going to keep our denominators the same. So, my denominator then is, if you guessed 8, you're right again. So my answer is 4/8. But we know that we have to put our fractions in simplest form. So let's see if 4/8 is in simplest form. I'm going to take my numerator, 4, and I'm going to find all the factors of 4. So what numbers, when multiplied together, will give us 4? Well, we know 1 times 4 will definitely give us 4. And we also know that 2 times 2, when multiplied together, will give us 4. I like to put commas in between my numbers. That way, I don't think it's one giant number. And I do the same thing for my denominator. What are the factors of 8? 1 and 8 is definitely a set of factors. And if you said 2 and 4, you're right on target. 2 and 4. Now, I have to find my greatest common factor. If the greatest common factor is 1, then I know my fraction is already simplified. But I'm looking here, and I see that 4 and 8 have a factor greater than 1. If you guessed 2, look again. If you guessed 4, you're right on. The greatest common factor is 4. I like to circle the greatest common factors. That way I know what they are. I'm not done yet with this problem. I am now going to take my greatest common factor and I'm going to divide it by my numerator and by my denominator. 4 divided by 4 is 1 is correct. And 8 divided by 4 is, if you said 2, you're 100% correct. So now I know my fraction, my answer in simplest form is 1/2. I'm going to bring you to another addition problem. This one's a little different than the one we just worked on. So see if you can figure out the difference. I'm going to take my numerators and I'm going to add them together. 5 plus 4 is 9 is correct. And I hope that you remember that we do not do anything with our denominators, that we keep them the same. So our answer is 9/7. You notice the difference already. I'm glad that you did. If you notice in our first problem, our answer was a proper fraction. The numerator is smaller than the denominator. But in our new problem, our numerator is larger than our denominator. So we have to put that in simplest form. If you said, let's put that into a mixed number, well, that's how we solve that. That is correct. So we take our fraction, our answer 9/7, and we have to make that into a division problem. our numerator, 9, becomes our dividend, and our 7 becomes our divisor. If you have a hard time figuring out or remembering which one's the dividend and which one is the divisor, the dividend is a number that goes inside the house, and the divisor is a number that stays outside of the house. See, right there. Inside the house, outside the house. And now we're going to divide. 7 divided by 9. How many times can 7 go into 9? If you said 1, you're right. 1 times 7 is 7. I now subtract 9 from 7, and I have an answer of 2, or a remainder of 2. So now my quotient, my divisor, and my remainder all play a part in my final answer. Here's my final answer, my simplified answer. 1 2/7. Our quotient 1 becomes our whole number. Our remainder 2 becomes our numerator. And my divisor 7 is our denominator. That's always the case, boys and girls. So now we have 2 examples of how to add fractions with like denominators. Let's see what it's like to subtract fractions with like denominators. Here I have 4/5 minus 1/5. Just like addition, but it's only subtraction. 4 minus 1 is, if you said 3, you're right on. And again, just like with addition, we do nothing with our denominators. We keep them the same. So, my answer is 3/5. Let's see if that's in simplest form. I apologize, I want to slide ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to list the factors of 3 and list the factors of 5. The factors of 3, what numbers when multiplied together will give us 3? 1 and 3. How about 5? You give it a shot. And if you said 1 and 5, you're right on. And I look for my greatest common factor. Remember, if the greatest common factor is 1, then it's already in simplest form. And I'm looking at the problem, and I see that the greatest common factor is definitely 1. So my answer is 3/5. Let's try one more problem. 8/5 minus 2/5. We subtract our numerators. 8 minus 2 is, 6 is correct. And what do we do with our denominators? That's right, we keep them the same. So now it's 6/5. Oh, you notice a problem, huh? Well, yes, there is a problem. And that problem is that we have an improper fraction. So, let's refresh our memory on how to solve or put into simplest form an improper fraction. 6/5. Who remembers which one is the dividend and which is the divisor? Well, if you said that 6 was the dividend, you're correct. And if you said 5 was the divisor, you're also correct. So now I'm going to solve my problem. How many times can 5 go into 6? 1's the correct answer. 1 times 5 is, you guessed it, 5. I'm going to subtract now 6 minus 5, and I have a remainder of 1. I'm going to move my kernel away, and I'll see what the answer is. And the answer is 1 1/5. Remember, your quotient becomes your whole number, your remainder becomes your numerator, and your divisor becomes your denominator. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that is adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something today.